you need to change something. Change your environment, move, do what feels good to you, talk with someone, feel better. And we are here. And I need to say, thank you for indulging me, because as we came up with this idea, we had so many people I wanted to hear from, and they told me, you have way too much on this list. What are you doing? We need to cut this down. And I was like, no, there's so much good ideas. I want to hear from everybody. So this is all me, and I am so inspired hearing everyone, so thank you.
Okay, so to extend a lot of what everyone else has already talked about, I want to mention something about failing, right? We talk about growth mindset and looking at mistakes as opportunities instead of failing. In design thinking, the motto is fail and fail often, because iteration is the way to innovate, right? And so you want to instill that idea of failing and failing often. And part of what other people have already mentioned in talking about how we model failure as a positive thing in a class came up in an article that we talked about. Some of you are in the community of reflective practice, the online community of reflective practice groups, and we did get a chance to talk about this article a little bit. It's an article from the New York Times. It's called On Campus, Failure is on the Syllabus. And so, like Caitlin was saying, it's okay to even mention that. I expect you to approach failure as an opportunity to learn in this class. And I will tell you when I have used failure as an opportunity to learn as an instructor. So this article kicks off with an explanation of fall orientation at Smith College, and then again at final exam time, where all of the screens in the building were projecting these quotes from students and faculty. I failed my first college writing exam, as a student, or a faculty member contributed stories too. I failed out of college, sophomore year, flat out. Whole semester of F's on the transcript, bombed out, washed out, flunked out. I drafted a poem called Chocolate Caramels. Is this a literature faculty who noted it has been rejected by 21 journals. ... So far. It's the not yet piece, right? So far, you still have hope, that grit, that I'm gonna keep submitting to publishers, because maybe I'm working with an editor and I'm getting better at it. So this idea of failing forward or iterating is at the heart, I think, of what a lot of growth mindset is really about. And so I'm just going to lead you through some practice, because practice is part of active learning, to reframe the language that you're using to promote this growth mindset, because it is the way we set that climate and that belief set. So first, turn to a partner, and it may be hard to see this, so I'll just read it out, and you can just talk about what's most pertinent to you here. Your growth mindset story. Describe that challenge you faced in learning a new skill or knowledge or practice. Why did you take it on? What motivated you? Did you feel discouraged ever? Did you have that little nagging voice in the back of your head that said, don't give up, this is ridiculous? If you did, what did you do to have that grit and persevere? Did you make those mistakes along the way, and what did you learn from them? And who was there to help you? Who cheered you on? Who encouraged you? Who supported you? How did it help? And did your success help others in any way, and how? So go ahead and turn to a partner and describe that moment, that challenging moment. wrap up your conversation. This idea of always telling educators that an active classroom is never quiet. So thank you for really engaging there with each other. What patterns did you notice in your conversation?
Life-changing events.
Life-changing events.
Perseverance.
And how did that happen? What helped you and your partner persevere?
Well, the desire to learn. Yeah,
it was internal and intrinsic sort of motivation to persevere. Okay. Yeah.
We had other people help us.
In what way?
Cheerleading, sharing vulnerabilities, seeing things in a new way. And yeah, did that cover it?
I love that motion you just did, the raising up.
Yeah.
People raised me up, right? What else? Yeah.
Ours were some academic struggles, and we didn't want to feel stupid. So we had to fix what we were doing wrong.
Right, right. It's like what Eric was talking about, right? So it's really bright people who, you have to find that what April was talking about with zone of proximal development. That's what I was thinking a lot about when Eric was talking too, is that sweet spot for each person is a different place and maybe a different area, right? And how do we support and differentiate for all of our students? That's one of the hardest challenges a teacher faces, is finding that sweet spot. So, so thinking about that, thinking about the stories, we hear, at the Boulder County campus graduation, the Voices ceremony. These things really come out there. I can't tell you how many of the students get up on stage and share how this community has lifted them up and helped them to see that they can learn when they didn't think they could. And it's just a profoundly chilling, in a good way, tingle that the entire audience gets when you hear those stories. And so it's likely that we're already doing a lot of this, maybe without naming it, growth mindset. But those are the kinds of things that we want to do to help our students persevere through their own mindset on what they can and can't do. So when we look at reframing language, and James talked about this and showed a lot of examples of this in his section. What do you say instead of? Instead of good job, you must be really smart. Or a self-reflective comment, I'm really smart. I'm really good at this particular thing. You can reframe that by talking about the effort and the strategy. So, great, you did this because you worked hard and those strategies are paying off. And making that public and sort of mirroring that back to your group. Here are the strategies that the successful students used to get to this place, right? So people can also see how that happened. Why is it better? Because we're focusing on the process and the work that went into it instead of the results, just like Carrie's story of her daughter. So some problems are hard. Just do your best. What does that imply when you receive a comment like that? Just do your best. Not expecting much. Not expecting that much from you, right? And it's dismissive. Yeah, it is, right? It's unintentionally dismissive. You think you're being encouraging, but always turn those comments back to how you feel when you hear that. So, changing that to things like, sometimes this is hard. Try them even if you think that you're going to get them wrong, because the mistakes you make will help you figure out how to correct it. And that's how we iterate. That's how we fail forward. So just telling them to try harder, again, like has been said over and over here, doesn't tell them why. Why should you try harder? Or how should you go about trying harder? So I want you to talk to a partner again about how you might reframe one or two of these statements. So, this seems too hard for you in your feedback, right? Maybe you should work on an easier problem, or even natural at math in front of other students. The power of that comment, girls, women. You're such a good writer. How the positive comments can affect your mindset about your own ability, right? You clearly don't know how to do these fractions, do you? Or please revise this. What? That's not specific, right? Please revise what? You made a lot of mistakes on these problems, or this really isn't your strongest subject, is it? Maybe you've said similar things to students in the past. You don't have to guilt yourself for that, because this is an opportunity for you to develop a growth mindset about your own language you use with students. Okay? We learn from those mistakes. So go ahead and talk to somebody. How could we reframe these statements and talk about the why? Why would this be a better way to say it? Okay, so attention getters, trick them to teach our pre-service teachers. Okay, so think about this with assessment. I think I heard Joe say something about all the red marks, right? You get something back and it's like only the corrections on it. I just saw an interesting a teacher who used an interesting way of giving back math papers, right, practice problem sets, and they used a yellow highlighter and highlighted all of the errors, handed it back, and then students had a workshop with each other. What happened? Where did I go wrong, and how do I correct it? And a lot of the in the video, there's a great video of it, and you see the students, like even just teacher walking around, sort of tutoring, the students looking up and saying, "Oh, it's so obvious to me now when I look at it." So no grade, no percentage, no calculation of right and wrong, just an opportunity to correct the mistakes and the errors. So think about, you know, those kinds of things. Hopefully you got some good reframing language with each other. So I'm just going to pose 9. I'm going to send you out some of these scenarios to think about. However, we're doing these, but we do have these growth mindset scenarios that will help you sort of go a little more deeper than just the statements, but just to think about these settings and how we often run into these same types of scenarios and how we might take that as an opportunity to turn it into a growth mindset learning opportunity. Thank you.
There's been so much content today, so know that this is being recorded and we can post it, as well as the handouts and the PowerPoints and things. So if you want to just, you know, this has been a flurry of ideas. So I'm a processor, I like to process. So I'm speaking now because I want Joe to be able to continue and everyone to give him your full attention. Keep in mind that all these different things that you've heard, if you have one thing that you want to do fill out those forecast cards that you got when you registered and turn those in. The registration desk, I believe, is moved over to the tables on the other side, C7, and turn those in. We will do a drawing and you can win a book or books of your choice. This is the mindset book, but it could be anything, grit, all kinds of different things that you can explore. So please do that. Thank you again for being here. I want to hand it over to Joe. He's one of our other instructional coaches, Westminster campus, and he's going to talk more about how, you know, what are we as learners and how can we keep moving this forward.
Hi, thank you, Tammy. So if you've noticed, a lot of the examples today have been about math. So they allowed the math teacher to come in at the end and just so that you guys got rid of all of your rotten tomatoes and stuff thrown up there. But what I wanted to to sum up was look at the ideas today. We've talked a lot about our students and how can we as instructors and teachers really help our students kind of get that and develop a growth mindset. But I wanted to kind of look at us as learners, right? At all of us in here and learning and how we do, and improve ourselves at the craft of teaching. And I really liked kind of James's visuals here, and I wanted to look at some of them, only thinking about them with a slightly different twist. Rather than thinking about it as students in our classroom, right? And what are they looking at and what are they thinking when they look at these quotes? Think of it as us, as teachers, okay? I just want to see as a show of hands, how many of you guys have ever had a lesson that has completely failed, like that you were just totally, right? And everyone who does not have their hand up, I don't know, I think I might try and call you out, right? Yeah, no, totally, right? And so if you look right at the top here, right? If we truly thought that that was it, right? That was the limit, that we'd be done. I feel like after the first week, I just put it down, like leave my keys, and I'm out of here. But we can't do that. We have it, just thinking about kind of what everyone has talked about here, right? We have a natural structure where we actually get the opportunity to, we talked about kind of redoing assessments. Kathy or someone, I can't remember, talked about, the opportunity to be able to retake assessments. We get to redo our class sometimes the very next minute, right? I mean, what we totally fail, that class goes, oh man, I had planned to do the exact same thing for this next group, right? We get that is built in. And if we are not focusing on the process, if we're just focusing on that result, then we're not ever going to be able to do any better for our students. And so what I want you guys to do, I recognize I'm kind of in the way, I'm almost literally standing in the way of you guys kind of getting food here. But what I want you to do is, while you're standing in line waiting for that food, right? While you're sitting there eating and sitting across from someone who, I don't know, just might be a math teacher and, can't really have a whole lot to talk to those crazy math teachers, right? We're numbers people. We're not, kind of talky talk. Oh, there's a fixed mindset creeping in there, right? No. But just what I want you to do is thinking about, right, what are some of those lessons that you had this past semester? And how can you change that, right, that failed? And how can you change that? What can you do to reframe that and help your students see it in a different way? I think, are we heading out to lunch now? Yep. All right. So I want to thank you all for being here, and yeah, have a great day.
Thank you all. Thank you for creating such an amazing climate for learning here. Have a wonderful lunch, a wonderful rest of the conference, and a great summer.